Welcome to Mellow_Magikarp's YouTube. I am Alex, if you don't know yet, and we're here going to be talking about the new thing that you're going to be seeing on this channel for the next few weeks. We're going to be doing a Sun and Moon through Lost Thunder Gauntlet. Now what that means is that we're going to take 32 decks from the Sun and Moon Lost Thunder format and run them against each other in a giant March Madness style bracket. Best 2 out of 3, the whole 9 from there. We're going to be recording the matches live here at Tabletop Village and uploading all of the games with commentary to this channel over the next month or so. This video may look long, but really the only thing you need is like the first 5 minutes of the video. The rest is for the people that aren't familiar with Sun and Moon Lost Thunder. The reason I'm coming to today to give you this little preview is that you guys have the opportunity to fill out your own brackets, just like March Madness, where you're going to come up with what you think is going to win certain matchups, go all the way down, pick a winner, submit it. The top, I think, probably 8 people we're going to give free codes out to. I haven't really decided how many codes yet, or if they're going to be from the new set. They'll probably be from Silver Tempest, but know that Tabletop Village is gonna hook it up. So if not that, then maybe just for some fun too, right? Like being able to have some fun watching some Sun and Moon Lost Thunder, rooting for your picks to go and comparing with your friends and that sort of thing. The link to the where you can fill out your bracket will be in the description. It'll also be on Mellow_Magikarp's Twitter at Mellow_Magikarp. And it'll also be on my Twitter at Spokane Pokemon. That's Spokane Pokemon, all one word. You can find those either there. There'll probably also be some sort of content on Tabletop Village's, what's it called? Instagram. So you can check it out there. But if all you need to know is, oh, cool, the 2 seconds that you actually need to know is Mellow_Magikarp is doing a Sun and Moon Lost Thunder Gauntlet with some people here at Tabletop Village. We're recording it live here. Make some predictions, fill those out. If that's all you really needed, then cool, you can click out of this video. If you know all the Sun and Moon Lost Thunder stuff, you can click out of this video. The rest of the video is going to be me explaining how we really came up with a lot of this stuff and a little preview of each of the decks if you're not familiar with the Sun and Moon Lost Thunder format. So at Tabletop Village, we have a lot of retro decks built. We have 2006, 2010, RSPK, 2011 Cities, Black and White Evo, Black and White LTR, and Prop 15-3. But the Sun and Moon Lost Thunder is the one we have the most decks of. I just kept collecting, and then all of a sudden we had 32 decks. And wouldn't you know it, that's the perfect amount for a bracket. We toyed around with the idea of doing a 24-hour stream. We might do some sort of stream maybe for the top 4 when we get done with this bracket. But regardless, we just really wanted to run a cool big tournament for some content. Now, the way that I broke these down, the way that the bracket was actually generated and all the matchups, it wasn't completely random. What I ended up doing was I broke them down into different pools, as it were, based off of results during the Sun and Moon Lost Thunder format when it was actually a thing a little bit ago, and putting them into 4 and then shuffling those up. So basically the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed were all chosen between Blacephalon, Granbull, Zoroark, and Zorotales. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th seeds were shuffled between Psychic Malamar, Malamar Spread, Gardevoir, and ZoroControl, and that sort of thing. So we shuffled these up and then put them into the bracket, and that's how the bracket was generated. Now, some of these things were rogue decks and didn't really have results, so at a certain point I had to start fudging it a little bit. So if you're upset that Solgaleo is so low or ZoroPod was so low, it's because they just weren't proven during those times, even though they probably are pretty good decks in their own right. So that's how the bracket was really generated. I don't really want to go over the specific bracket too much because I don't want to give you my thoughts on what this is all going to be. You can take a look for it yourself. Again, link it in the description. You guys can take a look at all that yourselves. I don't really want to give my opinions out quite yet. So, bracket predictions are going to be due. I guess never said that. Predictions are going to be due in about a week. We're going to start uploading the videos here pretty soon-ish. Who knows? We're going to start recording them at the very least, and then I got to do some commentary over them. But we might as well go ahead and take a look at the deck lists if you're curious about it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this format at all and you have no idea what it's about, Zoroark is the king of the format. This is not really going to be much of a it's not going to be a snapshot of the meta, because like Zoroark like really was like over half the meta. Like you would be going to expect to see 50% of your games are going to be against Zoroark, and it reflects that because there are 8 different Zoroark variants that we have in our tournament, but you know, counter decks and that sort of thing. So all you got to understand is that Zoroark is king, and the other thing that's really big is the turn 1 supporter. You're going to be playing High Counts of Lele for Wonder Tag in a lot of decks to either search out Elms to set up with stuff, or Lily to draw a lot of cards. Zoroark Decidueye Ninetales is going to be the #1 seed for this tournament. It has a lot of consistency. You have Beacon in order to search for your Pokemon, Mysterious Guidance to search for 2 item cards, and Zoroark to trade, discard, and draw 2. You're going to have a lot of these different things. Now, the reason that Zoroark Decidueye was like the first big pairing for this is because Zoroark had just lost Skyfield. And without Skyfield, you weren't able to maximize your damage output to the 210 number like you needed to. And so Decidueye's Feather Arrow would get you to the damage thresholds that you needed. It would clean up certain things that you didn't have that correct amount of numbers for. So between all of that, you have this nice little consistent deck that hits numbers, has a lot of tricks. You're going to see Acerola in a lot of Zoroark decks because you can reuse that trade ability. And then since Decidueye places 2, it's a perfect time for Doom Count GX. It's a really well-rounded deck here. You're going to be leading a lot with Beacon going into Decidueye. So this is our build for the #1 overall seed. #2 overall seed is the other really popular Zoroark variant from this era, and that's ZoroRoc. It's Zoroark with a Lycanroc and that Bloodthirsty Eyes ability. Bloodthirsty Eyes, when you play it, you get to switch one of their bench with their active, much like Gust of Wind, Lysander, Boss's Orders, however you want to pick it. Bloodthirsty Eyes allows you to grab something from the bench. The other thing that Lycanroc gives you is type coverage against other Zoroark decks. Claw Slash is going to hit 110, double up your damage to hit Zoroark for big numbers. Dangerous Rogue also has one-shot ability. If your opponent goes wide, Dangerous Rogue is going to be able to take a one-shot in a lot of different places. A lot of these other cards are in for techs in certain matchups. You will see Oranguru a lot in Zoroark matchup or in Zoroark decks because you can reuse a lot of your resources and draw into them pretty early with trade. Naganadel is in here for the Buzzwole matchup. Buzzwole is a big fighting Pokemon that's weak to Psychic, so you have a Naganadel in there that can evolve from Ditto's Almighty Evolution. The rest of the list is consistency, standard sort of Zoroark stuff. We are playing the Elms Lecture Engine. The fun part about this variant, though, is that Zoroark, with its Riotous Beating, is going to max out at 120. Choice Pan will put your numbers up to 150. Devoured Field is 160, and then you combine that with a Kukui and you're hitting 180, which is most basic GX's HP, either it's 170 or 180. So you're going to be able to really ramp some numbers up with some cute ideas here. Our third overall seed is Granbull. Now, Granbull was a lot of fan favorites. It has this ability all out. If you have no cards in your hand, it does 30 plus 130 more. This list is weird. You have a lot of things that you normally wouldn't see. Apricorn Maker searches for 2 item cards with the word ball in them. Since you can fail your ball search, since some of your ball search discards cards from your hand and helps you get things, Apricorn Maker really can empty your hand pretty quickly. The other common card you don't see is Diantha. If one of your fairy Pokemon were knocked out, you get 2 item cards or any cards back into your hand. Now, the reason Granbull was so good is because this 160 was significant against Zoroark, because with Choice Band, you're hitting 190, and then Shrine of Punishment is ticking between turns to hit 210 coming back into your own turn. The other thing is that Granbull is 130 HP with Dark Resistance, so you're not going to get one shot that easily back from a Zoroark. Has a very, very good Zoroark matchup, can trade 1 prizes. It's a very efficient deck as long as you can get that all out going. Most people's strategy against this is to take out the Macargos. Smooth Over is a big part of the deck, or take out the Orangurus for their draw power. You really don't have to worry about the Granbull itself. And then our final number 1 seed is Blacephalon. I don't have all the cards here. I apologize. Blacephalon was supposed to be the king of the format going into this. Blacephalon was going to be the big guy. Can take one-shots on a lot of different things. And Naganadel as a backup attacker and as energy acceleration was really good into those single prize matchups. Blacephalon throughout the format people started poking holes in it. It ended up not being as good as it was, but it still has enough results to be a top 4 deck in this format and in our tournament. You're going to use Naganadel to charge up your to put energies on the field, and Mind Blown to lost down those energies away and blow stuff up for big one-shot potential. You're also aided by Beast Ring. Beast Ring, if your opponent is in the mid-game with 3 or 4 prizes, you get to search your deck for 2 energies and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts. Everything in here that's significant besides some Marshadow and Lele is an Ultra Beast. You can accelerate pretty quickly. This deck has a lot of, like I said, one-shot potential and good trading into non-GX Pokemon. Our 5th seed is Gardevoir. At this point in the meta, Gardevoir had kind of fallen off as the king of the format. Gardevoir was still very, very good, but it wasn't as dominant as it was previously. Gardevoir has an ability, Secret Spring. It lets you attach Fairy Energy per turn, one free one from your hand. And Infinite Force does a lot of extra damage depending on how many energies are attached to both actives. This card would prey on low HP GXs in the active. The other thing about this is that it has fighting resistance and 230 HP, so it trades really well with Zoroark between Max Potion and all the shenanigans it's got going on. You're aided with another Ninetales engine, you're aided with Swampert engines, and you're also aided with a 101 Solgaleo to help in the mirror match, to help against babies, to have this good Prominence GX to heal all your damage and accelerate energies. It's a very versatile, well-rounded deck with a lot of cool tricks. Relies on that Elms Lecture engine that we're going to see so much of. The 6th seed is ZoroControl. This one wasn't a big deck at the start of the format, but when the format started moving on later, like moving towards the end stages, they found out that control decks were popular. You have 2 different options with this deck. You can go early pressure tempo and ride is beating left and right and try to take all your 6 prizes. It requires your opponent to dig really, really deep into their deck, and that's when you hit them with the control aspect of this deck. Orangu's resource management can put item cards and whatnot back on the bottom of your deck, and you can redraw them with Zoroark. So as long as your deck is really, really small, you can start getting back into those crushing hammers and enhanced hammers. With not a lot of recovery and not a lot of switch in this format outside of Guzma, you're really going to be able to pin stuff in the active and dance around a lot of their things that they have. Cold Crush GX is your GX attack in this. Discards all active energies from active Pokemon. Legendary Ascent lets you get into the active, so if your opponent is just stacking energies on their active, you can remove them all at once and start locking them with the Research Management Hammer combos. Malamar Spread is the first of 3 Malamar variants. Malamar has a Psychic Recharge. Once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon as your energy acceleration. There were 3 major ways to play this, and there was a lot of debate about which was the best Malamar variant. But this one right here is going to rely on a lot of spread attacking. Flying Flip from Tapu Koko, one of the best non-GX Pokemon in the game. Free Retreat, 110 HP, 20 to everything for a double colorless energy. If they went wide, you could Tapu Koko a bunch. You could also Black Ray GX 100 to each GX and EX Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field to spread a lot of damage. If you miss knockouts, Giratina's Distortion Door could put 1 damage on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon coming from the discard pile, as well as being a really good attacker. If you miss knockouts and you need to move, Tapu Lele's Magical Swap lets you move damage counters around on your opponent's side of the field. So if they went wide, you could spread and the Magical Swap. If they didn't go wide, you had big beat sticks like Shadow Impact on Giratina or Charismatic Burst from the Necrozma GX. Onix is in this deck list because of the 120 for 4 energies. Hits Zoroark. You will see Onix as this cute little tech, not really as a Steelix, but as able to take one-shots on Zoroarks. This format is all about taking Zoroark knockouts and trading effectively with other 1-prizers. Outside of that, the rest of the items and stuff is just consistency. Shrine of Punishment you'll see in a lot of non-GX decks to really punish those GX decks. The other Malamar variant coming in, rounding out our the 2nd seed pool, This one relies just on a lot of really good psychic attackers that you can use in different metas. It's more consistent in theory because you're not playing double colorless energy or any other kinds of energies. You're really just looking at setting up a couple Malamars, dumping psychic energies, and using which attacker you need to. You can get away with playing one Giratina because it recycles itself. If it's on the discard pile, you can get it back pretty easily. So Giratina is really going to be a lot of your main attacking. But you do also have that same Necrozma GX, but not really for Black Ray, but for Charismatic Burst. So you can discard psychic energies and blow stuff up with 190 damage. Bell of Silence is a very common tech that you see in a lot of Malamar decks because it helps you set up against Zoroark decks and a lot of other Lele-based decks. They can't play ability Pokemon, they can't set up. Bell of Silence helps you get into those 4th, 5th, and 6th turns that Malamar craves getting into. Malamar is susceptible to being out-tempoed, so you kind of need that aspect of things. Marshadow is in here to copy something in the discard pile and hit Zoroark for weakness. You'll see a lot of fighting Pokemon in this format. Going into the third seeds, you have Vikavolt or Vikavolt Rayquaza. Vikavolt has an ability that lets you accelerate a grass and a lightning energy from your deck to your Pokemon in any way you like. And it pairs really well with Rayquaza because there's those same 2 energy kinds. And it says 30 damage for each basic grass and lightning Pokemon attached to all of your Pokemon. So these were a match made in heaven. You are doing Vikavolt plus Rayquaza to deal a lot of damage really fast. Stormy Winds also let you accelerate extra energies, and Tempest GX allows for that consistency. You have this Delmise in here for your non-GX matchups. Hitting 130 for 3 energies is a pretty good thing in this format. And outside of that, you're really just trying to get into your Rayquazas and hit big. Zeraora allows for free retreat, so you don't really have to worry about your 3 retreat Vikavolt getting stuck in the active. Everything else is basically for consistency and trying to get that coveted turn 2 Vikavolt. Buzzrock is the next one. Buzzwole, the big Buzz, was really good when Crimson Invasion first came out. At this point, it was really only in the format to deal with Zoroark. You could deal with Zoroark really well because you're hitting it for weakness, and you're setting up knockouts with the 30 snipe damage from Jet Punch. Since it is an Ultra Beast, you are running that Beast Ring card I was talking about, where if there are opponents in the mid-game, you can accelerate energies for free, which gets you into this Knuckle Impact really early, 160, a really good number in this format. Deontay also helps the math here. You're dealing 20 extra to the active. And we have our old buddy Lycanroc here to finish off the things that you weakened up with Jet Punch. This is what Buzzwole is. It's just 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. And then in the mid-game, you're doing Knuckle Impacts, swinging for big. The biggest thing that this deck got towards the Lost Thunder release was the Alolan Ninetales Mysterious Guidance lets you get into your Beast Rings when you need to. That was always the big problem with this deck, is that if you miss those Beast Ring turns, it can be kind of punishing. But with Ninetales, it gave you that extra little boost of consistency that you need. Number 11 is Passimian. It's one of the weirdest decks ever because of the fact that it's named Passimian, but you rarely ever attack with Passimian. Passimian has this team play that 30 more damage for each bench Passimian you have. You fill up your bench. These ones do extra damage. You're hitting Zoroark for really significant numbers. But if you're playing against anything that's not named Zoroark, Passimian's not your best attacker. You're really kind of just trying to survive with Koko's Flying Flip, Latios's Breakthrough, and Shaman's Rally Back in order to set up damage on their side of the field, finish them off with Magical Swap, and make these big comeback plays. It is the counter box deck to end all counter box decks. That's really all it is that it's a single prizer. We are going to hit good matchups and fight those efficiently. Lost March rounds out our third seeds. Lost March is very similar to other March decks that you see, Night March, Mad Party, that sort of thing. It does 20 extra damage for each Pokemon in the Lost Zone. It sets itself up, Floor Path of the Sky, says put Skiploom Hoplop into the Lost Zone and grab a Jumpluff. Natu is in here. It has the Lost March attack as well. And Trumbeak puts itself into the Lost Zone. It just gets to do that. You have it in your hand, throw it in the Lost Zone. You also get that extra added effect of looking at their top card of their deck, but really it's only in there for the extra damage. You also have Lost Blender to put 2 cards in the Lost Zone and drawing a card. Throw a lot of Pokemon into the Lost Zone, swing big with Lost March. It trades effectively into GXs because you're one-shotting them for 1 prize, and it does well against the non-GXs as well because you don't have to go as hard and aggressive. Lost March really only suffers to getting Marshalled out of game, judged out of game, or missing the correct energy for the attack. Going into the 4 seeds, we have our third Malamar variant. It's Ultra Malamar. You're going to be using the Psychic Recharge to charge up Phantom Geyser. You discard all Psychic Energies and do 80 more for each one you discard this way. So if you have 3 on there, you're one-shotting anything in the format. If you have 2 Psychics and a Metal, you are still hitting for really significant numbers. Outside of that is a basic Malamar deck. You have your Mysterious Treasures to search for stuff, your draw supporters. The only thing that's really different is you're using Dawn Wings as Invasion to switch instead of other things. You run Altar of the Moon to have free retreat, and you're still running that one of Giratina to and the Bell of Silence just because you are a Malamar deck. Wall Stall going into what are these are our 4th seeds now. Yeah, we are already in our number 4 seeds. Wall Stall, just like ZoroControl, people started finding out that this format really didn't have a lot of recovery and a lot of switch. There were a lot of different stall type decks that didn't really actively mill, but it made your opponent burn a lot of resources and couldn't get through you. The big poster child here is Regigigas. It's 180 HP non-GX Pokemon, and since Choice Belt only hits GXs, 180 damage is actually pretty hard to hit, especially considering the fact that you have an Ancient Crystal attached to it. They're dealing 30 less damage, so in order to one-shot it, you have to hit 210 effective HP. With Acerola being able to heal all that damage, you are Acerolaing single prizers and looping that. Hoopa can't get hit by GXs either. Scoundrel Girl is a really good thing into Zoroark decks because they don't play a lot of non-GX attackers. And you have a myriad of other things that are meant to wall, disrupt, and just kind of be annoying until you win. Metal Firing Pen also lets metal Pokemon deal 30 less damage, so you have big, beefy metal Pokemon just to wall. Registeel has 20 less from attacks, so you're walling with that. In the late game, you can choose one of your 2 GX attacks, Black Ray GX, and swing 100 on all their Pokemon. Maybe take some knockouts for Shrine of Punishment, and maybe try to take all 6 prizes. Or you can Lost Purge GX, put your active Pokemon and all cards into the Lost Zone. That combo works well because you play 1 counter gain. If you're losing, it costs 1 less, and 2 double colorless energies. So you have the option of doing either GX attacks, taking a bunch of prize, or getting a big Pokemon out of the game. Zoroark Weavile is another 4 seed. It is the Zoroark Lycanroc deck, but with a single prize attacker in Weavile. Evil Admonition is a very good attack in this format. A lot of things have abilities. You're doing 50 for each one that does have an ability. So if your opponent is going wide with their Zoroarks and their Lele's and their Macargos, Weavile is going to come in there and just hit like a truck. So it is basically the Zoroark Lycanroc deck, but with a Weavile tech. People did consider this to be a different archetype than the straight ZoroRoc decks because they do play a smidge differently. You could even see a lot of variants that played Zoroark plus Weavile. A lot of this format was Zoroark plus something. This is the variant that plays Weavile. Everything else is going to be exactly the same. Nothing too crazy here from other Zoroark decks. And rounding out the top 16, we have Zoroark Decidueye. Again, Zoroark plus something. This one is different from Zorotales for 2 big reasons. Zorotales obviously plays Ninetales and Vulpix to help you set up. This one here is not based around the Elms engine. Instead, it plays a lot of Ball Search, and you're just trying to get into those Zoroarks. Again, the idea with Zoroark is that you're not really hitting significant numbers, so Featheriller helps you hit those significant numbers, and just let Zoroark to go to absolute town, just hitting for 120 every single turn, Choice Band, just Feather Arrow pings, and just kind of racking up the pressure and going really, really fast with that. Moving into the bottom half of the bracket, we have Sceptile Shuckle. Sceptile Shuckle is another wall stall type of deck. Power of Nature lets Sceptile and any Pokemon with a Grass Energy attack to them not get hit by Ultra Beasts. So it prevents stuff like Buzzwole and Blacephalon and Naganadel and a lot of other Ultra Beasts that were really popular in this format. Shuckle is also a very, very good wall Pokemon. It cannot be hit by Pokemon that have 2 or fewer energy attached to them. Zoroark's only going to have that double colorless energy, so they're going to need to commit a second double colorless to even hit Shuckle. And that's when you hit them with the hammers. That's when you hit them with the Plumerias. That's when you get rid of all of their energies. You also have this cute Carbink card that really came out of nowhere at one point. It does 30 damage and prevents all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by any Pokemon that has an ability. You can wall Zoroark this way. Cute little Lele plays aren't going to work. It walls Gardevoir, most importantly, because Gardevoir is going to be able to hit Shuckle. Gardevoir can't hit Carbink. Not much stuff in that deck can actually hit Carbink. So it's another wall deck, but you're doing it a little bit more cutely by instead of just, here's my big Regigigas, good luck trying to get through it. 18 is White Kyurem. This is one of the surprise decks of the format. It was seen in the last regionals of this format. It was a rogue deck that came out of nowhere. I think the story goes that the 3 people that created the deck all day 2'd, and it was such a surprise, which in my mind makes this format unsolved. Freezing Flames does 80 plus 80 if there's any fire energy, so you need a very specific combination on this White Kyurem of water, water, fire in order to deal significant damage. But seeing as it's a water Pokemon, you have a couple things to aid you out. Aqua Patch is going to be able to accelerate water energies pretty quickly, but you can also combine it with this Arceus Prism Star. You can use this deck only if you have a Grass, Water, and Lightning in play, and you get to search your deck for 3 basic energies. So we play Pheromosa as our Grass Pokemon with free retreat, and Zebstrika as our Lightning Pokemon for a little bit of extra consistency. Not many people were playing a heavy counter Field Blower, so Wishful Baton could help you loop those White Kyurems over and over and over again, because when you get knocked out, they move damage down. Wishful Baton is your main energy acceleration. Aqua Patch is your backup attacker. Or your backup accelerator. Sorry. White Kyurem. I think it got an unfortunate draw. We put it into the 5 seed, so it's going to be playing an awkward 4 seed. We'll see what happens. Zoroark Glaceon is another Zoroark deck. Zoroark Glaceon aimed to get Glaceon out as soon as possible and use Freezing Gaze. As long as your Pokemons are active, they can't use GX and EX Pokemon. If you started Eevee, you were able to Energy Evolution into the Glaceon turn 1. So if you started Eevee and had a Water Energy in your hand, you get to go straight into Glaceon, and it shuts off all of their Tapu Leles, all of their setup. Everything in their deck is slowed down by Glaceon. Glaceon is then going to be doing 90 and 30 to set up late game knockouts for Zoroark. This format relies very, very heavily on turn 1 Lele for Lily or for Elms, so this was a great way to slow down your opponent's deck. Again, it's just another Zoroark variant, but this time with Glaceon. Another Zoroark variant was aimed at beating the Blacephalon decks. Gyarados does 50 damage for each Magikarp in your discard pile, and since you could Almighty Evolution into that Gyarados, you were able to swing into things for 200 damage, or if you were trying to beat Blacephalon, you would only need 2 in your discard pile and just ride that Gyarados all the way. Blacephalon does have a really good matchup into Zoroark because you're just taking Zoroark knockouts left and right, and Zoroark's not really able to respond, so you have this whole Gyarados thing to come back at them. Other than that, it is just a Zoroark deck with a really good backup attacker. You have a few enhanced hammers for the mirror match. You're playing a high counter Acerola for the mirror match. Those are the real, you're really worried about Zoroark variants. That's how you get around it. It is basically just Zoroark with the backup attacker of Gyarados. It was seen at one major tournament and then just kind of fell off the map after that. Actually, I think maybe 2 tournaments. I could be wrong. Quagnag. Always nag before you quag. Quag before you nag. Who knows how the meme goes. These were a match as well. We've seen this Naganadel before being able to accelerate energy to itself, but Quagsire is able to rip that energy off and move it however you like. You move it from your bench to your active, but since you're always going to have whatever you need attacking in the active, it basically acts as a move it anywhere you like, but not able to really abuse Max Potion. So the whole goal is to get energy into the discard pile, charging up, and then wash them out to your attackers. Hydro Pump is not a bad attacker in and itself, so it's good there, but really the star of the show is Suicune GX. Does 120. They do 30 less if they don't switch, but Phantom Winds lets you shuffle the Suicune back into your deck. So if they can't shot Suicune, you have an infinite loop of Suicunes because you're able to use Cure Stream, get hit, retreat the 2 energies off, charge them back up, put a second Suicune into the active, Phantom Winds your other one, and then search it out with stuff like Brooklet Hill. You can just keep rotating between 2 Suicunes infinitely. That's the dream. Almost never happens though, because your opponent's going to be disrupting that. They're going to be doing other things, Guzmang. They're going to be getting around it somehow. You have fighting Pokemon in here for the Zoroark matchup, and a Lugia in here because it's just a good, decent attacker with fighting resistance. That's what you got in Quag Nag. Dusk Mane Necrozma is another kind of weird one that didn't really see a lot of play. Magnetic Circuit is a really, really, really good ability. You may energy rain metal energies as often as you like. The only problem here is that, like, what do you accelerate to? There weren't many great metal Pokemon except for Dusk Mane Necrozma GX. 220 damage, one-shots almost anything in the format, but you have to discard 3 energies attached to it. So you have ways to search for energies, so ways to get energy back with Mount Coronet, and all that fun stuff. It's not really that bad of a deck. The issue is consistency and setup. That's what really always plagued this deck. You have a really decent backup attacker, non-GX attacker in this deck. Beat Stick and Dusk Mane Necrozma, you'd think that this would have gone farther, but consistency issues really plagued this deck. Baby Buzzwole. This is before Baby Buzzwole really took off and got famous. This is before Baby Buzzwole was just everywhere at Worlds. It's another box deck. You're using some of the best single prize attackers in the game. Buzzwole has that Sledgehammer ability, 30 plus 90 if you have 4 prizes remaining. You have that Weavile aforementioned that does 50 for every ability. And then you also have Trash Lance Garbodor. This is when Garbodor was falling off. Rotation of VS Seeker hurt Garbodor's damage output pretty significantly, but it was still a decent attacker. Just 20 for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. If people forgot about this managing of resources, Garbodor could hit like a truck. So really it's just a bunch of these 3, Buzzwole, Weavile, and Garb, dealing damage based on the matchup. 24 seed is attacking Steelix. People tried to use this Steelix as a wall Pokemon. It's got 190 HP. You could throw a frying pan on there and really just tank hits. But then people also were like, oh, we can start slowly attaching to this thing and actually attack. And that's what attacking Steelix is. It's a big 190 HP tank that just can't get hit by Zoroark very well, right? Frying pan reduces damage by 30. That means that you're dealing 90 plus 90 with a Zoroark. You're just shy of knocking this out. So without any modifiers, Zoroark at best is 3-shotting this thing. It's kind of insane. Outside of that, it's really just a slow, tanky deck. You're not dealing a lot of significant damage. Delmise helps out with that. It makes your metal Pokemon do 10 extra damage. Victini lets your second attack reflip. But really, it doesn't hit a lot of significant numbers, so it ended up being a little bit too slow for the format. Koko Poison wasn't actually in Sun and Moon Lost Thunder. It was not even popular in the time before. It did really well at 1 regionals. But basically what it did is that Tapu Koko is a good attacker. You're doing 20 to everything on the other side of the field, but that's not going to be able to one-shot a lot of things. You're not going to be racking up that big amount of damage. Poison Barb was a card that never really saw a lot of play. When you got hit, you poisoned their active Pokemon. With Seviper's more poison, that damage starts stacking up pretty significantly. Let's say you had a Tapu Koko in the active and you do Flying Flip. Your opponent hits into it with Poison Barb. They're going to be taking 30 damage back. Now their active is at 50. You Flying Flip again, goes up to 70. Poison puts them up to 100. So in 2 turns, you were able to do 100 damage and 40 to everything on their bench. Using Magical Swap will help clear stuff out in the late game, and Breakthrough doing 30-30 is also going to help finish stuff off in the late game. It's a very slow, methodical deck that was really plagued by your opponent just putting 1 Pokemon out, or 2 Pokemon and just playing around the Poison Barb with Guzma and that sort of thing. Stage 2 box is one of the more interesting decks probably ever. There was a lot of different ways to build this. Most famously, there's a Greninja variant. Unfortunately, that variant didn't come out until after Lost Thunder, or after the next set team-up was out. Meganium has this really cool ability called Quick Ripening Herb. It gives you a free, fast, rare candy every single turn. So you can bench something, Ripening Herb up, and all of a sudden you have a brand new Stage 2 attacker. So you have a lot of different options here. You have Swampert for consistency, discard to draw 3. You have Decidueye to help fix numbers. You have Solgaleo as an energy accelerator and 120 beat stick. You have Gardevoir as if they get too frisky, you can start infinite forcing. And you have this cute Porygon Z play that lets you de-evolve everything on the other side of the field. So one of the more common plays is to Flying Flip a few times, set up some Zoroarks, and then use Feather Arrow to put 60 damage on there and initialize. There's another variant of this deck that plays the Kingdra GX, lets you put 60 on everything as a GX attack, and then initialize for your Zoroark matchup. Meganium Mill is the other Meganium-based deck in this format. Oopsies, hello. With Quick Ripening Herb and Toppling Wind, when you evolve, you discard 3 cards from your opponent's deck. With this combo, you aim to mill them out. You could reuse Rhyperior by Aceroling it back up and using Potown. When you Potown, you take 3 damage counters. So this combo was able to reuse Toppling Wind Rhyperiors over and over and over again. Also aided with Scoop Up. At the end of the game, you could use Raging Out GX, discard the top 10 cards of your opponent's deck. Aided by the 1 super boost energy you have in the deck, you can really start to ramp late game. It's not a very consistent deck. Your whatever is in the active is likely getting knocked out if it's not a Shuckle or a Ninetales. Very, very slow deck. But if you ever got into Toppling Winds and hit big resources, this deck can pull out surprise victories. Down the home stretch here, we have Weavile Honchkrow. It's another deck that aims to capitalize on Tapu Koko's spread because Honchkrow does 10+10 for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon. If they go wide and you Tapu Koko, all of a sudden Ravensclaw is doing 130 damage. If you do it again, Ravensclaw is one-shotting anything on the field. Now, it can be played around by your opponent limiting their bench. That's why you have stuff like Weavile's Email Admonition and Buzzwole to hopefully start taking a little bit of prizes and putting a little bit of pressure on your opponent. At the end of the day, it is a spread deck that is going all in on the spread concept. The last 4 decks here are not bad decks. I'll tell you that right now. Just because of the bottom 4 doesn't mean they're going to do bad. Solgaleo is the prime example of it. This is a modern day deck. It wasn't played back then. There have been Sun and Moon Lost Thunder formats that revisit this format, and Solgaleo is a popular, not even a popular archetype, it's just a archetype that came out from that. There's a really, really good article on Channel Fireball. I recommend you guys check that out about this specific list. It uses both the Solgaleo's Turbo Strike to accelerate energy and Sunsteel Strike to one-shot thing and discard all energies. You have Ultra Road to switch between things, so you're not worried about anything getting stuck, and you have a good backup attacker in Dialga and in Solgaleo's Krona Impact. It is just going all in on the Solgaleo concept. You have a lot of really cool, neat things you can do with this deck. It's a lot better than it looks. ZoroPod is the last Zoroark variant. At this point in the game, Zoroark Glaceon had completely fallen out of favor. Nobody was playing it. It just did not do the things that other Zoroark decks did. But it is still viable in this format because you have a significant attacker in Glaceon GX. When it becomes the active, do 30+90. It's 120 damage for 1 energy. Armor press 100 and reducing by 20. Still a pretty decent backup attacker in the Zoroark matchup. It naturally lets you play Tapu Koko, naturally lets you play Buzzwole, and naturally lets you play a lot of this other cool Zoroark stuff. It wasn't as popular. We put it at the bottom because no one really played it back then, but it is still a good force to be reckoned with. Exeggutor, most specifically Alolan Exeggutor, has this attack 20+20 for each type of basic energy in your discard pile. Kind of crazy. Only maxes out at 120, but it's 120 for 1 energy on our 160 HP non-GX Pokemon. Pretty good. We are playing the teched out version of it with the 2 Ultra Beasts, Buzzwole and Celesteela, that lets you hit for 160 if both of them are at 6. But basically, you're just trying to loop Exeggutors over and over and over again and make it really hard for them to ever hit Exeggutor. Does well into Zoroark decks, but not really well into a lot of other things. And then the last deck is Dusty Rukus. It was a rogue deck that was proposed back in the day to deal with the ZoroControl decks. Dusty Rukus did 130 for 3 energies. Nothing too crazy, but the ability to lost zoned any Pokemon that got knocked out by Tyranitar. So if you got rid of both of your opponent's Orangurus, they all of a sudden can't recycle their energies. Or their, what are they called? Disruptive things. So that's what Dusty Rukus really did. That's what it tried to capitalize on. Lay the Smackdown GX also shot a lot of things in the format and could gain a lot of tempo if you got it early. Basically, the ideal turn is turn 1 attached to Larvitar and Beacon. They would knock out the Vulpix, so then you would get into the Tyranitar, attach a second energy and a counter gain, and be able to use Lay the Smackdown on turn 2 of the game to just gain all this tempo. And if you didn't, you still have this 101 Solgaleo line as a backup. So that does it. That's about it for all of the decks. Just to sum it up, that video ended up being really long. To sum up everything, Sun and Moon Lost Thunder format. Go make your predictions on challenge. The link will be in the description on Mellow_Magikarp's Twitter, on my Twitter at Spokane Pokemon, probably also on Tabletop Village. I know this video was long. If you made it to this point, good job. Proud of you. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. This format's going to be a lot of fun. This tournament's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, we might live stream the end of it. We'll have a lot of players from Tabletop Village helping out with the games and the commentary and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We will see you for the start, middle, and end of the Sun and Moon Lost Thunder Gauntlet. See you guys.